And we're back. I just finished the priest video. Time to bang out the warlock video real quick. Small thing that you need to keep in mind. I never play warlocks. I don't know what their stuff does. Um, as it stands, I've heard really good things about Demonology Warlock. Um, they're probably all very good, but like it's Warlock. You cannot really go wrong. Every party likes Warlocks. It's health stones, all the CC they provide, AoE they provide, they have very strong execute, they have strong DPS. Like I said in my previous video on the one with the flowchart, you cannot go wrong with Warlock, right? On top of that, they have their own pet that can tank for them, and for the solo questing, you know, what do you want from me? It's Warlock, bro. It's Warlock. It's Warlock. Anyways, one thing that you might not be aware of is, and it's not yet confirmed, but Demonology Warlock tank. And you might think this is just a small idea, right? But both Dutch and Gray were in this thread, and Gray was pretty active in this thread. Gray from user. What was the command from user? That does not work. In user. God damn it, from Gray. Either way, you get the idea. But it was a lot of posts, a lot of reading. I would highly recommend you to go into this. Gray, hello. Seeing community feedback on this and on that, this idea is already somewhat natively supported. Through different armor spells and metamorphoses having tons at say, we are confident we could help fill the missing pieces and are open to this and other things like COJ2. I'm not sure what that is. However, we have quite a few bugs that we need to resolve first. So, Ascension developers are open to a full blown out Warlock tank at the end game. I've read that thread before, so basically the quick rundown is they don't want you to have a Warlock tank from level 10 or whatever. They want it to stay at the end game only. So at the end game, there might be a situation when you're like 1 week into the Bronzebeard, and suddenly you can tank as a Warlock, which is freaking cool if you ask me, right? So keep that in mind. So, like in the previous videos, 6 rare enchant slots, 3 epic slots, 1 legendary slot, 1 artifact slot. They have different level requirements. You get the first one at level 10, then you get level 15 epic, level 25 epic, level 30 legendary, and between those you get a bunch of those. Let's begin. I need to bang this out fast because I want to go to the gym and I don't want to go too late, so let's go. Unending resolve. This is your wall. This is you press this button, you take reduced damage taken, immune to interrupt, silence, pushback effects for 8 seconds. So this is your oh shit button. This is your PvP button. It's very good. Blood Aura. I don't know this ability at all, but let's read what it does. 40 seconds cooldown while channeling encases yourself in barrier of blood, making you immune to silence, stun, and interrupt effects. Anytime an enemy within 15 yards deals non-periodic damage to you, aka melee swings, direct spellcasts, you drain their health and cause them to run in horror for 3 seconds. This sounds incredibly powerful. This sounds quite overpowered. How long is the channeling duration when you press it? There's no counter to it. You press it and you cannot be stunned, you cannot be silenced, you cannot be interrupted. The only counter to this is pushback. Death grips, thunderstorm, stuff like that. But even if you thunderstorm, you will still get knocked back. A balanced druid can push you without dealing damage. I guess that's one part. Interesting, very cool ability. Sounds absolutely broken for PvE, by the way, and PvP. Demonic Leap. Leap into the air upon demonic wings, moving a short distance. If you reactivate within 1 second, you will leap again. Very cool. Mobility for warlocks. Interesting. Burning Rush. You probably know this ability. You pay with your max health for sprint, right? And you can toggle it whenever you want. So this is on-demand ability. Pretty solid. Helping warlocks to move around faster is nice. Okay, let's begin with the legendary enchants. Destruction, Demo, and Affliction Mastery. Those just make your stuff a little bit better without thinking about it too much, right? Those are a little bit less interesting, but if you're new to a class, you can just slot them in and they will work. They will do their thing. Soul Harvest. Increases magic damage and your pet's damage by 15%. Lasts 6 seconds. Increased by 3 seconds for each target afflicted by a corruption, curse of agony, and immolate, up to maximum of 24 seconds. It does not stack with other similar effects. Interesting, but I'm not aware which other similar effects are there. Probably there's some DPS cooldown for Demo that works with it. That would be disabled. But yeah, multi-dot, couple targets, slam, soul harvest, and then suddenly you and your pets are dealing massive damage. Very cool. Teaches you how to permanently enslave demons. Okay, so this is your demon pet. I guess you can enslave any demon. Each type of demon has unique abilities that you will be able to make use of. So Shaman has similar ability. They can also make permanent pets from elementals. The problem over there was that those pets didn't deal too much damage, or they only had a little bit of utility. But on the other hand, Demonology spec has to support and talents to have this. So it might be way better. How good that's gonna be, hard to say. A Warlock would need to tune in the comments and say if it's good or not. Hand of Gul'dan. Standard ability, like later on in the Warlords of Draenor. You throw that bad boy, summons wild imps, use AoE damage, and for 12 seconds those imps are gonna go crazy and attack the target. Soul Swap. You copy your damage over time effects from the target, preserving their power and duration. For 5 seconds afterwards, the next target you cast Soul Swap Exhale on will be afflicted by your copied damage over time effects. You cannot Soul Swap to the same target. Well, that's crazy. I never played with this ability. I just heard things about it. But let's say you create a couple of really hard-hitting damage over time effects. Let's say corruption, stuff like that. And you basically snapshot their effects with really high spell power, right? And after your trinkets, your all that stuff, their effects is gone, right? You can soul swap the dust to another target, which should be resulting in massive damage. Very interesting spell. Very interesting. Endless Agony. Dealing damage to drain life reduces active duration and cooldown of your Curse of Doom by 3 seconds and applies Endless Agony. After a target of your Curse of Agony dies, any stacks of Endless Agony will be spread to nearby enemies within 10 yards. Whoa, that's crazy. Well, Curse of Doom, if you don't know, if you know, it basically does nothing for like 60 seconds and then deals massive damage. So this one makes it pop earlier. And Endless Agony also, wow, Increases the damage of Curse of Doom by 8% and stacks up to 10 times. So, at 10 stacks you will have 80% more damage from Curse of Doom, the last pop. Am I mistaken or am I not? Curse of Doom, there it is. Curses the target with impending doom, causing 3200 shadow damage after 1 minute. Is that not like the biggest hitting base damage spell in game, honestly? And then summons a Doom Guard. The cool part about this is, since your drain life reduces the cooldown and active duration of Curse of Doom, you will be able to shit out those Curse of Dooms more often. You'll be able to have multiple at the same time. So I imagine if you have a situation where you're like in the raid, when you're ramped for like couple minutes already, you have multiple of those curses running, right? That should be massive ramping damage, if it's the way I understand it, but I could be wrong. Shadow Crash. If you ever played Wrath of the Lich King, you know the Shadow Crash ability those tentacle monsters have in Ajol Nerup zone. Ajol Ankahet. Sorry, Ankahet. So you hurl a big purple rock at enemies. It deals massive damage, massive shadow damage, and pulls them towards the center of explosion and slows them as well. So that's your grenade that you can toss at the enemies. Crazy Cultist. Damaging Warlock spells cast have 15% chance to cast additional random Warlock spell for free. This one is fun, but I don't think it's gonna be able to compete with other legendary options. Pretty goofy one. Something to play with for fun. Bane of Havoc. This one is scary in PvP. Curses the ground with Demonic Bane, causing your Shadow Bolt, Incinerate, Soul Fire, and Chaos Bolt spells to also strike targets marked with Bane for 50% of shadow of damage dealt. Really powerful DPS cooldown in PvE, and also very scary in PvP, from what I remember from retail. I don't know if it's the same thing as retail. It sounds good. Nether Portal. 2-minute cooldown. Opens a portal to Twisting Nether for 15 seconds, and whenever you cast Shadow Bolt or Incinerate, you summon 2 demons to a demon to fight for you. And if you cast Soulfire, it summons 2 demons. Soulfire is that very long cast spells. I think I think there's a proc that makes it faster. So if you want to have a lot of demons, that's pretty fun. Cataclysmic Burst. Dealing damage with Incinerate extends the duration of your Immolate by 2 seconds, increases periodic damage of Immolate by 8%, stacking up to 4 times. This effect is consumed when casting Conflagrate. Okay. Your nice combo for those dots. Not sure how powerful that is. It sounds powerful. If you want to rot people to death with damage over time effects, definitely one of the choices. Oof, I sneezed a bit, sorry. Muted myself in time. Soul Erosion. While using Drain Soul, the duration of your Haunt, Unstable Affliction, and Shadow Embrace is not reduced on target. Nice. Dealing damage with Unstable Affliction and Curse of Agony has 8% chance to increase damage of your next Drain Soul by 200%, and reduces duration to 6 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 8 seconds. So, it's another very powerful effect for Affliction Warlock. Getting those dots running on the target. Extending their duration with Drain Soul. Pretty cool. And also making the Drain Soul hit way harder. Demonic Reoccurrence. Requires Metamorphosis. Reduces the cooldown of Metamorphosis by 75%. No longer grants you bonus armor. and no longer benefit from the reduced chance to crit or reduced duration of stones and snares. Okay, so basically it makes your meta available way more often. What is it? It's 3-minute cooldown base, reduced by 30% with talent, so that's 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So 120 seconds minus 75. 45 seconds. Is this real? Am I right? Is my math correct? Maybe the order of operation is different. 300 minus 75 times 0.6 0.66 148. That sounds more like it. I'm not sure what's the order of operation with cooldown reduction. If the flat one goes first or if the percentage goes first. If the percentage goes first, then that's broken. If the flat goes first, then it's good. So you will have metamorphosis up very often, but in return you will have less armor and less crit reduction. But I guess you don't care if you're a DPS warlock. Interesting, interesting. Pure Shadow. Now we have those epic enchants. You can have up to 3 of those. Casting Shadow Bolt and Shadow Burn increases the damage of Shadow Bolt by 1%, Shadow Crash by 5%, Shadow Fury by 10%. Lasts for 15 seconds and stacks up to 6 times. Holy smokes. So, increasing Shadow Crash damage by 30% is a no joke. Shadow Fury, I don't know how hard that hits, but 60% more Shadow Fury damage. Pretty powerful. Demonic Siphon. When your drain life deals damage, it also heals your summoned demon for 2% of its health and increases its damage by 3%, stacking up to 5 times, lasts for 10 seconds. Well, this is your passive upkeep for your summoned demon. I imagine this is gonna be pretty cool for like PvE, for leveling solo. Cursed Shadows. Dealing damage with Curse of Agony has 30% chance to increase the damage for next Shadow Ball by 20%, reduce mana cost by 20%, and lasts 12 seconds. Okay, your random proc to make your Shadow Bolt a little bit better. Curse Weaver. You can apply an additional curse to the same target. Corruption deals 4% more damage per curse that you have applied on the target. Well, having additional curse is pretty nice, because Curse of the Elements exists, and that one is very powerful, especially in a group setting. So yeah, keep an eye out on this one. Wanding. Wand attacks grants you stacks that increase the cast spell next spell by 5%, stacks up to 5 times, lasts 6 seconds. I imagine it's gonna be pretty okay for like early game, but then you're gonna spec out of it. Shadow Funnel. While channeling Health Funnel on your Void Walker, its auto attacks trigger a Void Nova, dealing shadow damage to enemies within 5 yards. In addition, your Health Funnel does not cause any threat. Well, well, well. If you're a micromaniac and you can steer your Void Walker around really well, in theory you could pull a lot of monsters together with a Void Walker, cast Health Funnel on him to heal him up, and in the meantime his auto attacks will deal AoE damage, which sounds pretty potent, honestly. I'm not sure how much the Void Nova is, how big the damage is, but it sounds pretty good for farming. Searing Flames. Your Searing Pain deals 20% increased damage on targets affected by your Immolate. After killing an opponent that deals experience, your next Immolate deals 20% increased damage. Okay. Pretty simple effect. More fire dots. Dark Harvest. Dealing periodic damage with Corruption, Curse of Agony, Seed of Corruption, or Unstable Affliction increases damage of the next drain life by 5%, stacking up to 10 times. Wow. So, all the dots make your drain life hit like a truck eventually. 50% more damage and max stacks. Inner Flame. Dealing direct damage with fire or shadow spells has 12% chance to cause your next direct damage fire spell to be a guaranteed critical strike. Nice. So, if I'm not mistaken, the Soulfire is a really hard hitting spell now. There it is. Having this guaranteed crit almost turns it into a lava burst, honestly. Pretty nice. Casting Immolate on a monster which is not in combat triggers Aftermath, slowing it by 70% for 5 seconds. In addition, your Aftermath increases the damage of your Immolate by 10%. Okay, so if you're playing like a Distro Warlock and you're solo leveling, you can cast Immolate first on the monster. Not only the first 5 seconds he's gonna be extremely slowed, 70% is a very strong slow. And also take a little bit more damage. Pretty fun. Firestorm. Requires level 20. Calls down a fiery rain to burn enemies in an AoE for 264 over 6 seconds. Well. Scales with Rain of Fire modifiers. So, Rain of Fire is a basic ability at level 20. It's channeled, right? And it deals 240 over 8 seconds. So you have to actively channel. Whereas Firestorm, you use it once, then it goes on cooldown. But while it deals damage, you can do something else. Pretty simple, right? Casting Shadow Bolt, Dust Till Dawn. Casting Shadow Bolt incinerates Soulfire, Searing Pain, or Chaos Bolt grants you Dust Till Dawn. Increases the damage of your next Shadow Burn by 5%, stacks up to 3 times the last 15 seconds. When you use that 3 stacks, Shadow Burn applies Corruption to the target and doesn't cost a Soul Shard. Okay, very cool. Shadow Siphon. Your Shadow Burn deals 25% more damage to targets below 35% health and restores 10% health when you gain a Soul Shard. Well, this is a little bit more of execute effect on Shadow Burn. I'm not sure if it's worth sacrificing the epic slot, but maybe it is. Shadow Trance effect from Nightfall also reduces the mana cost of your Shadow Bolt by 100%. After killing opponent, you trigger Shadow Trance. This does not tell me anything. I don't know enough about Warlock to comment, but people are probably pugging out. Probably. Demonic Persistence. Dealing damage with Incinerate causes your lowest health Wild Imp to be sacrificed and explode, dealing 7 damage to all enemies within 8 yards. Okay. So, in addition, the damage of your summoned demon and wild imps are increased by 5%, stacking up to 4 times. Okay, the duration of your wild imps is increased by 1 second per active stack. Incinerate is the damage over time, right? Oh no, it's a single cast. Okay, so so you can just keep popping those wild imps that you spawned before with Hand of Gul'dan. And on top of that, it makes your wild imps last longer and deal more damage. Okay. I only played a little bit of demo and like BFA, but that was completely different gameplay from Wrath of the Lich King. Heretic of Gul'dan. Your Incinerate reduces cooldown of Hand of Gul'dan by 1 second. Critical hits reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds. Okay, so this is obviously pretty solid combo, those two. You get more Hands of Gul'dans, you get more Wild Imps, you get more crits, you get more Hand of Gul'dans. You get the idea. Fell Damnation. After using Fell Domination on your next Hand of Gul'dan summons, double the amount of Wild Imps. Casting Hand of Gul'dan reduces cooldown Fell Domination by 15 seconds. Okay. So, I guess all three of those together are pretty good. Because instead of 4 Imps, you will get 8 from Hand of Gul'dan. Interesting. Inferno. Enemies hit by your Hellfire have 20% chance to trigger additional Hellfire Explosion, dealing 50% of the original damage. Well, that's a lot of AoE damage. If I'm not mistaken, Hellfire deals quite a lot. It sacrifices a little bit of your HP to deal damage in AoE. I assume this scales incredibly well if you have tons of enemies in front of you. If your tank pulls a lot of monsters, right? Your tank pulls a lot of monsters, you have, let's say, 10 of them. One of them is gonna proc it. At least one. I'm assuming multiple can proc it at the same time. Should be shitload of damage in AoE. Like, actually. The problem is it does nothing for a single target, but for AoE this should be amazing. And very simple to use as well. Fire Attunement. Dealing damage with Immolate grants you Fire Attunement. Increases the chance to trigger your next Molten Core talent by 1%. Stacks up to 15 and lasts 15 seconds. Okay. Makes the talent even better than it is. Endless Flames. Increases the duration of Pyroclasm and Shadow Flame by 6 seconds. Additionally, Shadow Flame deals 15% increased damage. I have no idea what either of those spells are. So it says how much I know about Warlocks. But sounds good. Big fan of increasing the duration of damage over time effects. Pyroclasmic Shadows. Your Pyroclasm also increases the critical strike chance of your Shadow Ball by 10%. Okay. Healing Up. Requires Conflagrate. Dealing direct damage with Conflagrate applies Healing Up. You deal 2% increased fire damage to the target and stacks up to 5 times to last for 15 seconds. So, a little 10% buff for fire damage. Sounds nice. If you deal a lot of fire, definitely something to look out for. Casting Conflagrate reduces the cast time of next Soulfire by 40%, removes the Soul Shard cost. Nice. That makes those Soulfire casts really fast, I guess. Agonizing Coil. Using Death Coil applies Curse of Agony on the target and harvests their essence, granting you 10% increased chance to critically strike with spells for 15 seconds. That's nuts. The cooldown of Death Coil is reduced by 60 seconds. However, it no longer causes the target to run in horror. Okay, normally Death Coil is like one of those PvP abilities that is really scary, because as far as I know, it's not a fear, it's a horror effect, which is you cannot like tremor totem or whatever. And it also heals you for a bunch of damage. So having that on 1 minute cooldown sounds pretty good. But I would use it, of course, in PvE, not in PvP. 10% more crit is also like pretty good, I think. Doomcaller Wrath. Using Curse of Doom grants you eradication. Duration of eradication is increased by 4 seconds. Okay, I don't know what eradication does, honestly. Okay, when you deal damage with corruption, you have 6% chance to increase your spellcasting speed. Oh, so it's a bunch of haste on a random proc. Okay, okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Soul Link. Teaches you Soul Link. When active, 20% of all damage taken by caster is taken by your Imp, Voidwalker, Succubus, Fellhunter, Felguard, or Enslaved Demon instead. That damage cannot be prevented and lasts as long as demon is active and controlled. Well, this one is very powerful. I think by default this is like... By default it's a talent for Demo, no? Yeah, it is. And that enables it to be available for both Destro or Affliction. Interesting. So not only you have Demo Warlock that has that damage reduction, kind of fake damage reduction, but it's a damage reduction nonetheless. But having it at Affliction and Destruction as well, that sounds good. It's really good. For example, if you have like high Mythic Plus keys and you're at danger of dying, basically your Imp is gonna take a portion of your damage. Imp or whichever one you're using, your Felguard, for example. So your HP pool is way bigger than it would be normally. Very good. Unstable Void. Your Shadow Fury and Shadow Crash can trigger a Backdraft talent. And Backdraft gives you cast time and global cooldown of your next 3 destruction spells reduced by 30%. This sounds very powerful. However, both Shadow Fury and Shadow Crash have pretty hefty cooldowns. But it's definitely, if it procs, well, it proc is guaranteed proc, I think, but you cast a Shadow Crash and you immediately follow with 3 destruction spells on super short GCD. So sounds like a lot of burst damage to me. Demonic Whirl. Dealing damage with Shadow Bolt or Incinerate causes your Felguard to cast a Whirlwind, dealing damage to enemies within 8 yards. And this can only occur once every 3 seconds. This sounds fun as frick. This sounds very fun. Yeah, you cast those Shadow Bolts and your Felguard goes crazy. Very cool cleave ability. Demonic Influence. While in Metamorphosis, your Demon and Wild Imps deal 20% increased damage. Well, makes your Metamorphosis even stronger DPS cooldown. World Failfire. Dealing damage with Chaos Bolt calls down a Fiery Rain, dealing 3 damage to nearby enemies every 4 seconds for 4 seconds. So this is a little bit more of passive cleave, like when you have ads on the boss or whatever, but you want to prio target somebody. A little bit of additional damage doesn't hurt. Depends on the tuning. I don't know how good that is. It says 3 fire damage, but that's scaled to level 1. So don't worry about it too much. Yep. Chaos Manifesting. After casting Chaos Bolt, you receive Fire or Shadow Empowerment, increasing your damage with that school by 10% for 8 seconds. Either or, you say? Not a big fan of completely RNG effects, but I guess it's just a small bonus that you leverage. Yeah. Not very interesting effect, it's just a small bonus. Cooldown Chosen. Casting Chaos Bolt causes your destruction spells to not consume backdraft for 4 seconds. Holy smokes. What was it? So basically, after every Chaos Bolt, you have 4 seconds of backdraft casts, where you can spam destruction spells really fast. Huh, okay. Interesting. Sounds like a lot of burst damage. Casting Haunt on a target already affected by your Haunt makes it guaranteed to critically strike. Your Haunt increases the damage of your shadow damage over time effects by additional 5%. Okay. Guaranteed crits is always nice. And even more damage over time effects, also nice. Big fan of damage over time. Agent of Chaos. Immolate deals half as much direct damage but lasts for 2 seconds longer. Periodic damage. Oh, restart in 5 minutes. Okay. Periodic damage from Immolate benefits from spell haste and reduces the cooldown of Chaos Bolt by half second. Wait, each periodic tick from Immolate? Is that right? What's the cooldown of Chaos Bolt? 12 seconds. That sounds incredibly good. Am I wrong? You sacrifice a little bit of Immolate direct damage, but nobody cares, right? But all the ticks of it make you able to spam Chaos Bolts. That sounds really good. Especially for like spread cleave, when you have multiple targets spread out, 2-3 bosses, right? You immolate all of them and you spam Chaos Bolts. Sounds very good. Okay, that was it for epic enchants. Now we have blue ones. Blue ones are available by your class trainer. Do not gamble for them. Buy them from class trainer. And now I'm just gonna quickly mouse over them because we have 3 minutes. And you can read them yourself. You can pause the video. So, there we go. Most of them are just copy-pasted from Wrath of the Lich King, right? Just repurposed. Some of them are crossover talents, aka you can use them in different spec, because normally Bronzebeard, at level 60 you unlock your last talent. In an example of Warlock, you will unlock Metamorphosis as your last level 60 talent, and you wouldn't be able to spec into the other trees at all. But with crossover talents, you see in the small blue text, you're able to unlock those as well. So those slots are very important for your power. There's a lot of customizability, a lot of theory crafting you can do on Bronzebeard, right? So don't be afraid to experiment a little bit. And that was it for Warlock video. I hope my insight helped you in any way. If you learned something, if you found something interesting, slash if I wasted your time, dislike the video. If you learned something cool, like the video. And I'll try to get the rest of the classes out. But right now I have to go to gym at 7 PM already. And then we'll see. The release is heading to us with big steps. A lot of updates on the Discord. Highly recommending you to get on the Ascension Discord. There's changelog happening almost every single day. Some changes are being applied, so get on, have some fun, have some discussion with other people that are like-minded, they want to play similar classes. And I'll see you on Friday.